The laughter started before the delivery driver even reached the counter. Officer Grant Miller leaned back in his chair, boots stretched out under the table, watching the young man struggle to balance two large food bags. Hey, careful there, the officer called out loudly. Wouldn't want you dropping someone's dinner." A few people in the restaurant glanced up. The delivery driver, wearing a faded red jacket with a food delivery logo, stepped carefully toward the counter. His name tag read Daniel. Daniel spoke quietly. "Order for table 6. The cashier nodded and pointed to a table where a group of off-duty officers were finishing their drinks. Officer Miller watched Daniel place the bags down carefully. Then he smirked. "Well, look at that," Miller said to his friends. "The fastest driver in the city finally made it." One of the officers chuckled. Daniel ignored the comment and began checking the receipt. 2 burgers, 1 salad, 3 drinks. Miller leaned forward. "Hey, delivery guy." Daniel paused. "Yes, sir." The officer picked up one of the bags and shook it slightly. "You sure you didn't take a bite on the way here?" A couple of customers nearby exchanged uncomfortable looks. Daniel stayed calm. "No, sir, everything is sealed." Miller laughed louder. "Relax, I'm just kidding." But he wasn't done. "You know," Miller continued, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear, "this is what happens when you don't finish school." A few people at nearby tables looked down at their food. Daniel stood still. "I'm just doing my job, sir." Miller raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you've got a job, all right." His friends laughed again. Driving around all day, delivering burgers, big career plans. Daniel quietly pulled out his phone to confirm the delivery in the app. "I hope you enjoy your meal." But Miller reached out and stopped him. "Hold on a second." Daniel looked confused. "Yes." Miller crossed his arms. "You parked outside in the red sedan." Daniel nodded. "Yes, sir." The officer smiled slowly. "That's a no parking zone." The room went quiet. Daniel blinked. "I only parked for 2 minutes." Miller shrugged. "Rules are rules." He pulled out his citation pad. "Guess I'll be writing you a ticket." A woman at a nearby table whispered to her husband. "That's ridiculous." Daniel's voice remained calm. "Officer, I was just delivering food." Miller started writing. "Maybe next time you'll think about where you park." Daniel looked toward the door. "I'll move the car right now." Miller shook his head. "Too late." The scratching sound of the pen filled the air. A few customers were now openly watching. Daniel sighed softly. "Okay." Just as Miller finished writing the ticket, the door of the restaurant opened. No one paid attention at first. Footsteps moved across the floor. Then a deep voice spoke. "Grant." Officer Miller froze. Slowly he turned around. Standing near the entrance was a tall man in a dark suit. Serious expression. Sharp eyes. The room suddenly felt smaller. Several officers at the table immediately sat up straighter. "Chief Harris," one of them said quietly. The restaurant fell silent. Police Chief Robert Harris walked forward calmly. He glanced at the delivery bags, then at Daniel, then at the ticket in Miller's hand. "What's going on here?" Miller cleared his throat. "Just issuing a parking citation, sir." Chief Harris looked at Daniel. "Your name?" "Daniel." The chief nodded slightly. "Daniel works for my daughter's delivery company." The room went still. Miller's expression flickered. Chief Harris continued. "He's been delivering food for us every week for the last year." Daniel looked surprised. "You're Emma's father." The chief gave a small nod. Miller slowly lowered the ticket. Sir, he was parked in a restricted zone. Chief Harris raised an eyebrow. While delivering food to police officers. No one spoke. The chief looked around the restaurant. Customers. Phones quietly recording. Officers sitting awkwardly. Then he turned back to Miller. Did he cause any problems? No, sir. Block traffic? No, sir. The chief folded his arms. Then why are you humiliating a man who's just doing his job? Miller didn't answer. The restaurant remained completely silent. Chief Harris stepped closer to Daniel. I apologize for this. Daniel shook his head gently. It's okay. The chief turned to Miller again. That ticket won't be necessary. Miller slowly tore the paper from his pad, then folded it. The laughter from earlier had completely disappeared. Chief Harris spoke one more time. Respect goes both ways, officer. Then he looked at Daniel. Thank you for the delivery. Daniel nodded. Have a good evening. As Daniel walked out of the restaurant, several customers quietly clapped. Miller stared down at the empty ticket pad in his hands. And for the first time that night, he wasn't laughing anymore.